afternoon and welcome to the Bass Coast Shire Council meeting Wednesday the 20th of August 2025. Could I ask to please turn off all mobile telephones? In case of an emergency, please advise the chair and switch to silent mode. We acknowledge the Bunurong as the traditional owners and custodians of the lands and waters and pay respect to their elders past, present and emerging. I'll now hand over to Councillor Edwards for the Council's statement, please.
All members of this Council pledge to the Bass Coast Shire community to consider every item listed on this agenda based on the individual merits of each item without bias or prejudice, by maintaining an open mind and disregarding councillors' personal interests so as to avoid any conflict with our public duty. Any councillor having a conflict of interest in an item will make a proper prior disclosure to the meeting and will not participate in the debate or vote on the issue.
Thank you, Councillor Edwards. Item 1 on the agenda is present and apologies, of which we have no apologies. Everyone's present today. Item 2, declarations of interest. There are no declarations unless there's some last-minute ones, councillors. No, all good. Item 3 is confirmation of minutes for council meeting held on the 16th of July 2025. Do I have a mover, please? Councillor Bauer, a seconder. Councillor Temby. Happy to put to the vote, councillors? Yes. All those in favour? That's carried. Thank you. Item 4 is the Mayor and Councillor reports. Councillors will forego speaking to their monthly reports. They'll be included in the council meeting minutes. Next, we have public question time. Sorry, just get my page. Question 1, Susie Wicks. Topic: petitions. If a petition containing 50% of signatures from ratepayers owners in a street is submitted and accepted by council, is it then factually possible for a special charge scheme to be implemented and completed in that street with a complete absence of any further participation by any ratepayers in that street? Mr Box.
Through the Mayor, no. Once a petition is received, council officers work with the landowners to confirm their preferred design for the upgrade project. The designs are costed and a formal vote is conducted as required by the Local Government Act.
Question 2, Ross Bencraft. Topic: hardship payment plan. There are 2 parts to this question, Mr Box. So question 1, Bass Coast Shire Council is offering ratepayers a hardship payment plan for the special charge schemes on the Esplanade at an interest rate which is 1% above council's own borrowing rate. What approximate percentage range can ratepayers expect council's borrowing percentage rate for this plan to fall into? Question 2. Option 4 of this Bass Coast Shire Council hardship plan gives ratepayers potentially 20 years to repay a hardship loan based on the percentage range quoted by Bass Coast Shire Council. In response to the above question, can Bass Coast Shire Council advise approximately how much interest a ratepayer would repay over 20 years on a loan of $25,000?
Through the Mayor, council borrowings and the interest rates are market dependent. The available quoted interest rate as of the 18th of August 2025 is 4.605% for a 10-year principal and interest loan. A $25,000 hardship plan repaid via monthly instalments over 20 years with an effective interest rate of 5.605% would equate to a repayment of approximately $16,630 interest.
Question 3, Amanda Nosk. Topic: special charge schemes. In concept plans for the Esplanade special charge schemes, Bass Coast Shire Council claims each scheme provides community benefits by improvements in surface and stormwater quality, discharging to the existing drainage outfalls, but then states that drainage via existing outfalls will continue unchanged. Without upgrading existing outfalls, how is this possible or realistic?
Through the Mayor, Sealed roads, curb and channel and drainage pipes are included in the design. If the upgrade project proceeds, stormwater outflows will be much cleaner than if the road remained unsealed with unconstructed drainage. Council contributes financially to this added community benefit as calculated in the benefit ratio statement.
Question 4, Philip Davey. Topic, Special Charge Scheme Benefit Calculations. Why is Council using assumed vehicle trips per day for Special Charge Scheme benefit calculations instead of actual traffic counts that were taken over Christmas 2021 and Christmas 2024, even with there being only 1 month between peak and off-peak traffic counts in January and February?
Through the Mayor, Council uses a variety of methods to estimate the usage and associated benefits for both adjacent property owners within the potential special charge schemes and the wider community benefit. These include community surveys, census data, parking surveys, site observations and traffic count data.
Question 5, Louise Lyle. Topic, Phillip Island Nature Park charge. In the Council declarations for the Esplanade, Surf Beach, Sunderland Bay, Council states relationship to non-rateable properties such as council or Crown land. No such properties exist. Phillip Island Nature Park land extends along the length of the projects. Who pays for drainage, curbing and road construction along Phillip Island Nature Park frontage?
Through the Mayor, the Special Charge Scheme excludes coastal reserve land on the southern foreshore managed by Phillip Island Nature Parks along the Esplanade, as only privately owned northern properties are deemed to receive a significant special benefit. While the Southern Coastal Reserve may gain minimal advantages from the works, these are considered marginal and not sufficient to justify inclusion in the scheme area.
Question 6, Peter McMahon. Topic, Recreation land, Phillip Island. Question 1. Can Council please outline the costs involved to rezone the recreation land on Phillip Island? A recent response from the planning ministers seemed to conflict with the previous answer given by the CEO regarding costs, in brackets $200,000. Question 2. Given the information available from the minister's office, re-costings, can the costs be itemised, and why is it to take up to 10 years before the rezoning is to take place as previously stated by the CEO?
Through the Mayor, the costs mentioned by the Planning Minister refer to the standard statutory fees for any state planning scheme amendment set by the state government. Council may also face additional expenses during the amendment process, such as expert reports, community consultation, reviewing submissions, hiring an independent panel and general administration. Council can start a planning scheme amendment at any time, but this is unlikely in the next 10 years since most early site uses either don't need planning permission or can proceed without a permit.
Just point out, Mr. Box, that question has been asked before and answered before, so I just want to raise that and we've let that go through. Question 7, Terry Burke. Topic, Bass Coast Affordable Housing Strategy. Attachment 1 of the Bass Coast Affordable Housing Strategy outlines an action plan for the strategy. Could Council provide an update on progress with respect to the 11 actions in the action plan?
Through the Mayor, Council is well progressed in the implementation of the strategy and on track for full implementation of what are 10 actions in the action plan. The 10 actions within this plan, 7 of which are complete or currently being implemented, with the remaining actions on track for delivery. These actions are supporting affordable housing and service support outcomes for local community members across the Shire.
Question 8, Graham Jolly. Topic, rate capping. The MAV, a peak body, is advocating to the state government to scrap the rate cap. Is the Council, through the Mayor and Deputy Mayor as members of the MAV, supporting the scrapping of the rate cap so that higher rates can be charged?
No. It is Council that are members of the MAV. While Council submitted to the Victorian Government's rating strategy review in 2019, this Council has not resolved an advocacy position on rate capping.
Question 9, Melissa Dagg. Topic, bonds. Question 1, what bonds have Bass Coast Council purchased? Question 2, when will these bonds pay out?
Through the Mayor, Council does not purchase bonds. Council holds investments in shares and term deposits. The term deposits are listed along with their maturity date in the quarterly financial report under section 1.4 Treasury.
Question 10, John Guzma. Topic, Wonthaggi North East Precinct Plan. Council's Wonthaggi North East Precinct Plan has been in place for a number of years now. What is the progress of new infrastructure to this precinct?
Through the Mayor, the Wonthaggi North East Precinct Structure Plan was adopted on the 18th of January 2024, with most key infrastructure funded by land developers via subdivision approvals. As development grows, further essential infrastructure will be delivered to support it. Key infrastructure delivered includes an intersection at McGibbeneys Road and Currumborough Wonthaggi Road, section of McGibbeneys Road east of this intersection, drainage reserve in Parklands and Powlett Ridge Estates, culvert crossing on McGibbeneys Road over this drainage reserve, local parks in Summerfields, Powlett Ridge and Parklands Estates currently under construction.
Question 11, Joe Warrilow. Topic, Old Wonthaggi Secondary College. The Old Wonthaggi Secondary College is a building and land owned by the state government. Why is Council continuing cost-shifting practices when Council asked for a $660,000 grant for a feasibility study for the old college?
Through the Mayor, Council has not assumed ownership or management responsibilities for the site. The current federal funding application is intended to support the development of a business case, as well as a land use and partnership framework for the site. One objective of this business case is to ensure that Council avoids accepting unreasonable financial risks by acquiring the site without a comprehensive plan in place.
Question 12, Fred Morris. Topic, Canberra. The Mayor and CEO travelled and stayed in Canberra attending meetings with members of Parliament. The meetings were to focus on obtaining grant funds for multiple projects. How much money for each project did Council actually receive?
Through the Mayor, funding decisions are not made during these meetings. Council's previous delegations to Canberra have been very successful. The recent delegation to Canberra initiated continued discussions with ministers to advance a number of Council priorities.
Question 13, Graham Jolly. Topic, Hilton Chadwick Reserve. The Hilton Chadwick Reserve and the Carnival Land is to have a new safety traffic turning lane built most likely before site infrastructure can commence. Council has a $440,000 towards development on the land. When did Council submit plans for the safety turning lane to the Transport Authority?
Through the Mayor, the plans for the entry treatment were submitted to the Department of Transport and Planning in February 2025. Feedback was received back from the Department of Transport and Planning in August 2025, and this feedback is currently being actioned.
Question 14, Sue Chadwick. Topic, hard rubbish. Why can't Bass Coast Council provide a free hard rubbish collection once a year? We on the island had this free service for years. We pay high rates, so if councillors say we listen to community concerns, then please act now and provide our community with this free necessary service.
Through the Mayor, Council delivers all its waste services on a cost recovery basis. Hard rubbish collection is currently available once per year on request to all properties that receive a curbside collection, with costs recovered directly via a fee for service. Offering a free hard rubbish collection for all properties would mean raising the annual garbage charge to all ratepayers. This approach would be less equitable than the current fee-for-service arrangement.
Question 15, Marnie Chadwick. Topic, public question time. Is it true that Bass Coast Council plans to modify community question time as stated in the draft governance rules 53.5, requiring questioners to be present at the meeting? This change disadvantages significant local contributors and risks silencing important voices within our community.
Through the Mayor, the governance rules will be considered at this Council meeting. Following community feedback on the draft rules, the rules tabled for Council decision do not require questioners to be present for their question to be answered and published in the meeting minutes.
Question 16, Terry Parkin. Topic, rubbish. I travel to Bass Coast as a tourist regularly throughout the year. Multiple roads I and other tourists travel on have numbers of roadkills marked red and paper rubbish to roadsides. What can council do daily to remove these unsightly visible issues?
Through the Mayor, Council responds to reports of rubbish in Council's road reserves, open spaces and Council-managed foreshores. Any rubbish on other roads is forwarded to the responsible road manager, either Council or Regional Roads Victoria, for action. Roadkill is removed from Council roadways as part of the Road Management Plan 2022.
Question 17, Terry Parkin. Topic, Community Satisfaction Survey. Council's Community Satisfaction Survey results over 6 prior years have been determined by contacting 800 people in the Shire. Why was only 400 people contacted for the 2025 survey that quite clearly distorted the 2025 results?
Through the Mayor, this is a statewide local government community satisfaction survey. Councils have various options regarding content of the questionnaire and the sample sizes to be surveyed. The smaller survey sample is still reflective of the diverse demographics of the Bass Coast community, and the quality of data is not compromised. Council has undertaken significant community engagement over the last 12 months to inform the preparation of key strategic plans. Additional survey questions will be added to future surveys so that Council can track its progress delivering on the priorities of its new Council plan.
Question 18. This is the last question, Mr. Box. Graham Dark. Topic, social housing. Would Council please explain the rationale for the approval of a 5th petrol station in Wonthaggi, given the current number already and the move to EVs as the means of transport of the future, and given the approved location would have been an ideal situation for a social housing development?
Through the Mayor, the application in question was originally refused by Council, but ultimately overturned through a subsequent VCAT hearing. Guidelines within the planning scheme outline what matters Council officers can consider in the assessment of land use and development proposals. The co-location of similar land uses is not included within these guidelines, and all applications are assessed on their individual planning merits. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Box, and thank you to our community members for their questions. We'll now go to item 6, notices of motion, of which we have none. Item 7, petitions, joint letters, deputations and correspondence. We have a 7.1 petition relating to Queen Street, Merrin Crescent to Broome Crescent in Wonthaggi. Ms Taylor to introduce this report, please.
Thank you, Mayor. The purpose of this report is to receive a petition for an upgrade of the road on Queen Street between Merrin Crescent and Broome Crescent in Wonthaggi. The officer's recommendation is to lay the report on the table to allow council officers to engage further with the residents in that street. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms Taylor. Councillors, the recommendation is before you. Do I have a mover? Councillor Morgan, a seconder? Councillor Edwards. Would you like to introduce Councillor Morgan?
Thank you. Happy to introduce this and encourage our local community to get involved in the consultation.
Fabulous, thank you. Councillor Edwards, would you like to say anything further?
No, support the petition being tabled. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other councillors wish to make comment? So we will put that to the vote, will we, Councillor Morgan?
Please do.
Okay, all those in favour? That's carried, thank you. Item 7. That's item 7, sorry. Item 8. Reports requiring council decision. 8.1, the draft community vision, draft council plan and draft annual action plan. Mr Box to introduce, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm pleased to present the draft Bass Coast Community Vision, Council Plan and Annual Action Plan to Council for consideration. These key documents, together with the draft Long-Term Financial Plan, Asset Plan, Healthy, Safe and Resilient Bass Coast Plan, Disability Action Plan and Domestic Animal Management Plan, each of which will be presented as part of this agenda, represent a significant and collaborative achievement by councillors, officers in close partnership with our community. As required by the Local Government Act, these plans are essential for shaping and guiding council's decision-making and strategic direction, not only for the current council term, but well into the future. Their development has been informed by extensive community engagement, which took place across July and August 2024. This was followed by the implementation of a deliberative engagement process where a representative panel of 45 community members from across our diverse region examined the many complexities facing council. The panel brought a range of perspectives and considered the challenge of balancing multiple priorities in order to deliver on council's aspiration. Their work culminated in a series of recommendations, each strongly aligned with the Bass Coast vision. Council has adopted these recommendations in full, reflecting the commitment to meaningful community involvement in shaping our future. Council is asked to endorse the draft Bass Coast Community Vision, Council Plan and Annual Action Plan, and to release them for additional community feedback before being presented for final endorsement at the October meeting. This will ensure the plans reflect the needs and aspiration of Bass Coast residents now and into the future. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr Box. Do I have a mover? Councillor Bell. Seconder? Councillor Tassari. Would you like to introduce Councillor Bell?
Yeah, I'm supporting the endorsement of our community vision, council plan and the annual action plan because together they'll guide how we serve Bass Coast. These documents reflect what our community values and expects. I was lucky to observe one of the deliberative engagement sessions earlier this year and I was really impressed with the process, and I've spoken to a couple of the participants who were also happy with how things ran and they felt thoroughly engaged with the whole thing. Without a shared vision and clear plans, we risk making decisions that don't reflect our community's values, and these plans give us the direction, accountability and a way to measure progress. So I'm confident to endorse these plans, and I invite everyone in our community to be involved in the upcoming consultation, read the plans, ask questions and hold us accountable, as these documents will become our commitment to the people of Bass Coast.
Fabulous. Thanks, Councillor Bell. Councillor Tassari?
I'm not sure that I can actually improve
any
on
better than that.
from Councillor Bell, Madam Mayor, so I'll leave it at that, only to say that the consultation was exhaustive and well done to all involved.
Thank you, Councillor Tassari. Do any other councillors wish to speak? Councillor Morgan?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Just quickly on the disability draft action plan, I'm really happy to see this plan being sent off.
Councillor Morgan, that's later in the agenda.
Oh, my apologies.
We're on 8.1, which is the Community Vision, Council Plan and Draft Annual Action Plan.
You are completely correct. I need to have another coffee.
Can you hold that?
I can.
Because it comes up a bit later on. Does anyone else wish to speak? Councillor Temby?
Yeah, look, I'd like to support the comments that Councillor Bell has made and thank the council officers for pulling it all together as well. I think it clearly demonstrates that the views of the community as we heard them, and I was also at one of the deliberative engagement sessions and was most impressed by the engagement they had with both the process and the outcome. I think that's really important. And I think also that in that context that we need to keep their views in mind when we look at budgets, considering that there seems to be an imbalance in the way we allocate budgets away from or to other things than environment, but environment came up as the strongest position that those people took, and we need to keep that in mind as we're making decisions on budgets. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Temby. Any others wish to speak? Councillor O'Brien?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, look, I'd just simply like to comment about the inclusion of the Western Port woodlands as a key plank, now of these plans. And I think that we're signalling that there is a shift, to better align with, as Councillor Tenby noted, to better align, with environmental outcomes. And the Western Port woodlands is a key part of that and a key part of the Shire. And, we really, over the next 10, 15 years, it will really become, a key part of what the Shire, of what the Bass Coast Council is about, that we're more than coastlines, we're also, coastal woodlands. others.
Thank you, Councillor O'Brien. Any other councillors wish to speak?
I'll try. Sorry. I'd also like to endorse this going out for further community consultation, and do appreciate that the engagement process was quite extensive. However, I would also like to suggest that as 9 councillors that have all been voted in on various different values and things that we bring to the table, our wider community expects that of us, and so we bring that. And as this goes out, then it'd be great to see a further context of, is that reflective of what they voted for when they voted for this group of councillors? And if that is, that's fantastic. If there's some tweaks, we need to take those on board. Where is our, the services we're providing too many, too little? Where do we, I think just having that overall review. And one thing I would like to see, perhaps, and I apologise for not having brought this one up earlier, is perhaps linking the budget to the plans more closely, so that we can say, okay, well, this is this strategy, how much is that going to cost to actually get to that outcome? But that's, that's not for today. It's going out for consultation, and I endorse that. So thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Edwards. No one further? All right, would you like to sum up, Councillor Bell?
Yeah, I just wanted to just point out on Councillor Edwards' statement about that we were elected. One of the things that did come up really strongly in the deliberative engagement was that the community are not feeling incredibly engaged with, and one of their priorities was to have more engagement. So I think we need to kind of take that into consideration in everything that we do for our term, and not rest on our laurels that we are the elected representatives of the community. We still need to go out and keep talking to people and asking their opinions. Otherwise, put it to the vote. Is that what I say next?
Yes. So all those in favour? That's carried. Thank you, councillors. 8.2 is the draft long-term financial plan. Mr Kay to introduce the report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Council have prepared the draft long-term financial plan seeking community endorsement for community consultation. The LTFP has been developed using rational financial assumptions, including a 2.5% rate cap and a 1.25% population growth, along with continued funding to support current service levels. The LTFP comprises of an ambitious capital works program for planned delivery of key intergenerational projects, including the former Wonthaggi Secondary College site, Phillip Island Sporting Precinct and Aquatics and Leisure Centre, Wonthaggi. The LTFP also contains the impacts of rising waste operating expenditure and high depreciation costs, reflecting the financial impact for legislated remediation works at the previous and existing landfill sites and a higher non-cash depreciation charge due to increased infrastructure asset valuations, impacting our projected performance indicators, specifically the adjusted underlying deficit and asset renewal ratio. The indicators also project stable and improving indebtedness ratios, reflecting Council's decisions on reducing debt levels whilst remaining a comparatively low taxing and low expenditure council. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr Kay. Mover, Councillor Tassari. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Bell. Councillor Tassari, you wish to introduce?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Firstly, well done, Joe, and your team on putting this together. It always makes me laugh. This is a big piece of work that we take on, and we go in there wanting to cut costs, and we want to do this and we want to do that, and then we go away and come back with our wish list, and we add millions and millions to it. So, and then it's your job to make it work. So well done to you guys. One, putting up with us, and two, putting this together, this piece of work. It's a great piece of work. It shows that us at Bass Coast are still going to move forward with developing and building new infrastructure for our community while trying to keep things under control. So thank you so much for the work you've done so far, and I look forward to putting this out.
Thank you, Councillor Tassari. Councillor Bell, would you like to speak?
Yeah, I support endorsing this long-term financial plan to go out for community consultation. I think it's a commitment to Bass Coast that is resilient and prepares us for the future. It's our roadmap for the next decade while we're facing significant financial pressure from various parts of the world with state rate capping and things like that. But it also supports the key projects that Joe mentioned. So yes, again, I endorse this one. Encourage the community to get involved with the consultation as you review the draft, and let us know what you think.
Thank you, Councillor Bell. Any other councillor wish to speak to the long-term financial plan? Councillor Bauer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, fellow councillors and ratepayers watching this meeting. The draft long-term financial plan before us is a continuation of the plan from the last council with minor changes. It shows a continued support for our environment and community projects. The two main areas that have been brought into sharp focus in this plan are the Wonthaggi Secondary School site and the Cows Recreation Reserve. I would like to draw fellow council attention to the line entry on page 41, and I quote, aquatics and leisure centres being in plural. Though the emphasis is on the Wonthaggi, and I accept that, the Cows Aquatic Centre located at the Recreation Reserve is still in the long-term plan. There are other line entries in the plan that should be looked at. For example, the transfer station in Gap Road and the budgeted amount for the curbside waste. On page 41, 3.5 million have been allocated for the introduction of the purple bin for glass recycling. With the glass recycling centres about to take wine bottles, I do hope that our officers' advocacy cancel the introduction of the fourth bin is successful. We can then divert the 3.5 million into the upcoming curbside waste contract and get the landfill red bin picked up each week from Christmas to Australia Day. We also could have one free hard
Councillor
rubbish
Bauer, I'm
pickup
just going to pull
each
you up
day
on that,
and no
Councillor
stress
Bauer.
our long-term
Councillor
plan.
Bauer,
Finish.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Bauer. But next time I give a directive, I need you to cease speaking straight away because you're introducing into the chamber something that is not part of the debate or part of the decision before us in relation to the 3.5 million and where it should and shouldn't be spent. But nice try, good one, you got it out there. I think that'll become a decision that gets debated amongst councillors if that does change. Councillor Bauer is the point that I'm making.
Well, all strength to the officer's arm to get rid of the fourth.
Thank you, Councillor Bauer. Does anyone else wish to speak to the long-term financial plan? If I could just say a couple of things, I wanted to pick up on Councillor Bell, recognising the pressures into the future that are not within council's control. We've had the introduction of the ESVL and we've had further pressures with rate capping. So congratulations to our team because we really have put you all through the ringer to try and get this long-term financial plan. So thank you, Mr. Kay. We do very much appreciate it. In that, I will hand back to Councillor Tassari, who I promised I wouldn't speak today, and I just broke it. But anyway.
I'm not saying anything, Madam Mayor.
If you'd like to sum up.
You're about to buy me. No, look, only to touch base on, yes, again, well done. The work's been really well put together, but also Councillor Bauer's passion, I guess, for a project that I've heard so much about. But as you touched on, Madam Mayor, it's not as easy as just going from here to here. It's everybody gets their say on what they would like to see that money spent on. So with that, put that to the vote. Thanks, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Tassari. All those in favour of the recommendation? That's carried. Thank you, councillors. 8.3 is the draft asset plan, and we have Ms Taylor to introduce this report.
Thank you, Mayor. The purpose of this report is for Council to consider releasing the draft asset plan to community for consultation. A requirement of the Local Government Act, the plan provides a framework for the management of Council's $1.4 billion asset portfolio. Building on our roads, drainage, structures, buildings, pathways and open space plans, the asset plan identifies the funding required for council to maintain its assets and is a key input to the long-term financial plan. It is proposed that the plan be released for the purpose of consultation from today until the 9th of September. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms Taylor. Do I have a mover? Councillor Morgan, seconder. Councillor Temby. Councillor Morgan to introduce, please.
Thank you very much, and thanks, Ms Taylor, for your work on this. The asset plan is actually quite a fascinating read. There's a lot of things that happen in local government that may not be everyone's favourite bedtime story, but the asset plan is actually a very fascinating thing to look at. When you look at a council's budget and particularly in relation to the long-term financial plan, there are so many things that we look after at a local government level that just go so far beyond the roads, rates and rubbish that you think about. And particularly going forward, the ongoing costs of looking after our assets and managing those assets against the increasing threat of climate change is something that should be in the forefront of everybody's mind. So yeah, I encourage as many people as have the time and strength to go and have a look at it, to read through those budget lines and have a look at what we do, because there's so much work that goes on behind the scenes in this organisation that I don't think gets nearly enough attention.
Thank you, Councillor Morgan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think Councillor Morgan has pretty much summed up what I was going to say. It's a very important document. It is important that people have a look at it. It's a massive task for any council to look at, and considering our financial environment that we're in, getting this right is terribly important, and I think council officers have done a great job in getting it to where it is, and I look forward to seeing the feedback.
Thank you, Councillor Temby. Any other councillors wish to speak to the recommendation? Councillor Bell?
Yeah, I support this asset plan going out for public consultation, because our community deserves a say in how we manage the infrastructure. We've got over $1.47 billion in infrastructure assets. Roads, drainage, buildings, open space, pathways, and they're going to sit this is going to sit alongside our long-term financial plan, the infrastructure that we're going to build on top of that. So our community would be wise to have a look, as Councillor Morgan has indicated, to understand that our infrastructure really faces some big challenges. We've got ageing assets, climate impacts, population growth and financial constraints that we're trying to deal with in managing existing assets and building more. And so without the community input, we risk developing a plan that doesn't reflect the local priorities or lived experience. So again, encouraging everyone to engage so that we don't miss opportunities to align with what matters most to the community.
Thank you, Councillor Bell. Anything further, councillors? Councillor O'Brien?
If I may, Madam Mayor, yeah, look, I think that the engagement with the community is a really important part of this, because we need to avoid situations where, you know, just to go back to the last council meeting, where we took a vote on the viaduct bridge in Kilcunda, which was a council asset, community asset, but now beyond repair. And I think the community, if they were more closely engaged with council, you know, that these sorts of situations may not arise as much. They'll arise, but they may not arise as much. Where there are much loved community assets, we need to hear that back from the community, especially if they're tucked away in dark corners. That's not that example, but I'm sure there are little halls everywhere, plots of land, etc. We need to hear from the community about those and what their wishes are.
Thank you, Councillor O'Brien. Any other councillors wish to speak? We'll go to Councillor Morgan to sum up.
Thank you. I completely agree with all those points. Let's put it to a vote.
Thank you. All those in favour? That's carried. Thank you, councillors. 8.4, Draft Healthy, Safe and Resilient Bass Coast Plan. Ms Kennedy to introduce the report, please.
Thank you, Mayor. The purpose of this report is to seek council endorsement to release the Draft Healthy, Safe and Resilient Bass Coast Plan 2025 to 2029 for public consultation. The draft is a requirement under a legislative requirement under the Public Health and Wellbeing Act, and builds on our previous plan, the Health and Wellbeing Plan. This plan is evidence-based. It provides an inclusive framework that reflects community health and wellbeing priorities identified through extensive community and stakeholder engagement, including 9 pop-ups with over 200 attendees, 122 survey responses, focus groups with priority cohorts, and internal and external stakeholder workshops. The proposed consultation period will provide an opportunity for all stakeholders to further engage. Feedback will be incorporated into the final Health, Safety and Resilient Plan and will be presented to Council for consideration before the 31st of October. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms Kennedy. Do I have a mover? Councillor Tassari, seconder. Councillor Temby. Councillor Tassari.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Ms Kennedy, for putting that forward. This is another plan going out to the community, and the community are going to say that this is it's plan overdrive. But again, as it's been touched on by Councillor O'Brien here and Councillor Bell and others, this is your chance to have your say. Have your say now at this point, rather than down the track and say that you never realised what was happening. All these plans come out for you guys to have a look at. Take the opportunity to have a look at it, have your say, and who knows, maybe even shape the way these things go forward, because we do hear all too often, we read on Facebook after the fact that you never knew anything about what was going on. Well, once again, this is your chance to have your say. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Tassari. Councillor Temby.
To build on Councillor Tassari's comments, this is all about mental health, it's cost of living pressures, it's climate change pressures. There's a whole host of things there that have a significant impact on the livability of the Shire, as well as our own sort of personal comfort within the Shire. I think it's really important that we get good feedback on this, and if we can improve people's physical and mental health as a result of it, then we're achieving what it's setting out to do. So, yes, I think feedback on this is really important. It's an important step forward for us.
Thanks, Councillor Temby. Any other councillor wish to speak? Councillor Tassari.
Put it to a vote, Madam Mayor.
All those in favour? That's carried. Thank you, councillors. .5. Here we are, Councillor Morgan. Draft Disability Action Plan 2025 to 2029. Ms Kennedy to introduce, please.
Thank you, Mayor. The purpose of this report is to seek endorsement to release the Draft Disability Action Plan 2025-2029 for public consultation. The plan meets Council's legislated requirements under the Disability Act 2006 and reflects Council's commitment to inclusion, access and equity for people with disability. The Draft Disability Action Plan identifies barriers to access and inclusion and outlines Council's role as enabler, collaborator, advocate, promoter and service provider. It integrates universal design principles and promotes co-design and continuous improvement. Collaboration with stakeholders and benchmarking with other councils inform the development of the plan. The proposed consultation period will provide an opportunity for all stakeholders to further engage, and feedback will be incorporated into the final plan. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms Kennedy. Do I have a mover? Ooh. Councillor Thompson, and then I'll have you as the seconder. Is that okay, Councillor Morgan?
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. This is an amazing plan that integrates right throughout all our other plans and policies to build an inclusive, equitable and thriving community. Statistics show 26% of people in Bass Coast report having a disability, including myself. Many of these require a carer. Carers' age range from 10 to 89 years, with majority identifying as female. Nearly 30% of Bass Coast people are aged 65 or older. Highlights of the plan include delivering an annual event to celebrate and recognise carers in our community. These are our unsung heroes who provide countless hours to caring for a disabled child or adult. To support and develop a renters' rights resource kit for people living with a disability and their carers. Collaborate with the surf lifesaving clubs to continue building on initiatives that improve beach accessibility. We offer free water wheelchair and all-terrain wheelchairs hire for individuals with disabilities. support local businesses to be more inclusive, including promoting the Bass Coast Council accessible council grants, improve accessibility to public spaces, including parks, reserves with footpaths, ramps and disabled parking. Support youth-led programs by promoting sports clubs and community organisations that lead activities and programs for disabled youth and adults. Partner with groups and organisations that support Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, LGBTIQA communities, culturally diverse communities, older people, young people and others experiencing additional barriers. As Chair of the Access and Inclusion Committee, I've seen the amount of preparation, consultation and implementation of this plan. I commend the Council officers for their excellence in collaboration to produce this plan. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Councillor Morgan.
Thanks. And considering my lack of ability to read an agenda, you might be surprised to know that I used to work for the Minister for Disability in the ACT. I'm really happy to see this plan coming out for community consultation. There's a phrase that stuck with me when I was working in the disability community in politics and governance that is nothing about us without us. And I think the Bass Coast disability community have clearly been let down by governments for too long. The recent federal gutting of the NDIS, including price growth caps and service restrictions, requires state governments and local communities to do the heavy lifting, particularly on Tier 2 support packages. We don't have enough of those services in our communities, and people are and will continue to slip through the cracks. And I know my federal Greens colleague, Senator Jordan Sealjohn, is fighting for a safer and fairer NDIS every day. The Disability Action Plan is not going to solve all the problems and shortcomings, but I hope this plan will genuinely help some people living with disability in Bass Coast. So please get out there, be seen, be heard. Please engage with us as your council. We work for you.
Thank you, Councillor Morgan. Councillor Tassari.
That was very well put, Councillor Morgan, and I won't speak as well as that, but having family members that have disabilities and rely on help and seeing the gap that is available for them. This is a really important piece of work. The NDIS, don't even get me started on that, having a mother, unfortunately, who's no longer with us, but going through the home packages and trying to deal with that was a nightmare and / a joke. So this is really, really important for our community member. There wouldn't be a person in this room that isn't affected somewhere by someone with disabilities. And this is an incredibly important piece of work that I'm very, very passionate about. Not as eloquent as Councillor Morgan, but just as passionate, and I look forward to this going out there.
Thank you, Councillor Tassari. Does any other Councillor Temby?
Yeah. Thank you, Madam Mayor. In the context of Councillor Tassari's comments, I'm a carer and had somebody with a very severe disability in my family as well. And this is really, really important. So all of the comments are right, welcome, and this plan should move us in the right direction. So well done to everyone. I commend it to everyone.
Thank you, Councillor Temby. Anything further? Councillor Thompson, would you like to sum up?
Please put it to a vote, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Bauer, did you have something you wanted to add before we put to the vote?
Just quickly, sorry, yeah. I'll forget the original sentence that I was used here. One of our core social obligations is to ensure that all members of our community feel comfortable, whether going to a restaurant, going to the beach, or just going shopping. This draft action plan is an impressive document full of good intentions. I hope the strategies can reflect the action plan.
Thank you, Councillor Bauer. And put to the vote, Councillor Thompson.
Thank you very
much. All those in favour? That's carried. Thank you, councillors. 8.6, the draft Domestic Animal Management Plan 2025 to 2029. Ms Kennedy to introduce the report, please.
Thank you, Mayor. The purpose of this report is to seek council endorsement of the draft Domestic Animal Management Plan, known as the DAMP, for community consultation. The draft DAMP outlines council's strategic approach to domestic animal management and addresses a range of community priorities, including responsible pet ownership, compliance, dogs in public spaces, and the protection of the natural environment. The draft DAMP has been developed reflecting the priorities identified through extensive community consultation over May and June, and builds on the success of the previous DAMP to uplift animal management and pet ownership across the Shire. Council received significant community input, including over 800 community members contributing to the consultation, 651 survey responses via Engage Bass Coast, 111 community members attended consultation pop-ups in Wonthaggi, Cowes, Inverloch and Coronella, key stakeholder workshop with Dogs Off Leash working group, and 19 written submissions from key stakeholders and local organisations. The proposed community consultation period will provide an opportunity for all stakeholders to further engage on the draft before it's presented back to Council in October. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms Kennedy. Do I have a mover? Oh, hands everywhere.
Gee whiz.
Councillor Bell, seconded by Councillor Thompson. Councillor Bell, would you like to introduce?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor, and thanks to the officers for putting together this draft DAMP. For some reason I have trouble saying that it's called a DAMP, but anyway, it's my personal little foible. It's going to guide us to create a safer and more connected Bass Coast for both pets and people. I think the engagement that you've already had has been pretty phenomenal, high numbers, and so thanks also to the community, to all of those working groups and things that contributed to what we've got today. Pet ownership brings real benefits, mental health, physical well-being and social connection, but we also need to protect our community and environment from nuisance and risk. So I think we need stronger compliance, and I think the plan is bringing that. I know there's many places that my son and I kind of avoid riding our bikes because of off-leash dogs. Lovers Lane is one example, which is unsettling to be surprised by dogs off-leash there, and feels sort of audacious for owners to be walking their dogs off-leash in that area. I just want to be clear that calling for more compliance doesn't make me a dog hater. Most dog owners do the right thing, and I completely acknowledge that, but we kind of have to legislate for those who don't, those who let the dogs run loose in the sand dunes and down the main streets and disturbing the wildlife, people and other dogs. And this plan is including education and enforcement, which I think is a good way to tackle that nuisance and risk. I think I read that between 2021 and 2024, dog registrations grew by 26.81%, while our population grew by just 7%. So I translate that in my non-mathematical mind to seem to think that that means a lot of new pet owners who may need that extra support from us. Of course, dog parks are also a big part of our solution, as they offer a safe social space and reduce the conflict. So I'm very excited about the idea of a dog park on Phillip Island. I think it'll be a huge win for our community and for our community's well-being. We just need some agreement on where to put it, which might be the hardest part. So anyway, we'll keep talking, we'll keep listening to the community and build a Bass Coast where pets and people thrive together. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Bell. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you. I'll build on what Councillor Bell has said. We've both done similar research, obviously, so I'll cut a few things out. We currently have 8,400 dogs and 2,500 cats in Bass Shire as at our last registration period. And as Councillor Bell, we've had nearly a 27% increase in dog registrations. Animals bring companionship, support during times of loneliness and stress, keep us active and give a sense of purpose and responsibility. No matter what sort of day we have, our pet will always greet you with unconditional love, joy and happiness. They are an important member of our family. We have 7 off-leash beaches across the Shire, and in this plan introducing 2 more off-leash dog parks in Inverloch and Cowes. In regards to compliance, I perhaps think we may require further animal management officers, but that's something else for the future. Overall, with the input from consultations with groups and individuals, this plan has much merit. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Is there any other councillor that wishes to speak? Councillor Temby.
Yeah, look, I mean, responsible pet ownership is great, particularly of dogs, is great for mental health, for fitness, for social interaction with other pet owners in particular, and compliance with the DAMP plan will result in everything being able to go ahead without problems, but there are a few regular people who've been flouting their current regulations. They will cause problems for all pet owners if that is not adequately controlled. So that would support the idea of having more officers policing the expectations, and that fully fenced dog parks are a solution, a good solution for that issue. But the wildlife don't have advocates, so we need to make sure that we speak up and we ensure that dogs do not, and cats, do not interfere with our wildlife if this is going to work. And I'm speaking about the 1 to 3% of dog owners who will be spoiling it for everybody else. I've been a dog owner, I will be a dog owner again. I get what it's all about, but we've got to keep them under control.
Thanks, Councillor Temby. Does anyone else wish to speak? Councillor O'Brien?
If I may, Madam Mayor, look, I think that the important words there are objectives and actions that support protection of natural assets. And we do need to be able to enforce what the intent behind this damp policy is. We do see too many dogs in sensitive areas running off leash. In San Remo, the back of San Remo there, with just disturbing wombats near where I live, with the hooded plovers, and we have a dog community who whom when we speak with them say that dogs really aren't part of the problem, that the problem here is rising waters and so forth when the hooded plover nests get disturbed. But we all see it. We all see it wherever we go around the island, and I'm sure around the rest of Bass Coast. We all see dogs running where they shouldn't be, and I think that behind this plan, we do need to ramp up our compliance, and ensure that people that are doing the wrong thing, and that if animals are where they're not supposed to be, that we use the bylaws powers, to pull people into line. But also, it's clear to me that there's also, cats roaming as well as dogs, and I'm not sure how we deal with those. But we also need to try to ensure that there's compliance around people who've got cats, that they're not getting kicked out of the house at night, to do whatever they do, between dusk and dawn. But I think it's those words that are really important, and we can use those dog owner and pet owner groups to get this message out that that this is something that's really important to many of us here on council.
Thank you, Councillor O'Brien. Councillor Bauer?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, fellow councillors and ratepayers watching this meeting. I would like to thank Officer Kennedy and her team for doing a very good job in preparing this draft. I am happy to endorse the draft. The changes that were brought in during the last councils have worked well and have not been altered within this draft. The area where the island community could give feedback is to the enclosed dog parks. I appreciate that not all dog owners, not even the dogs themselves, may want to exercise or frolic on the beach. It would be good if we could pin these inland dog parks down and build them. I urge the final dam to reflect the views of the vast majority and not the small minority who would spoil it for everybody. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, Councillor Bauer. Anything further, councillors? We'll go back to Councillor Bell to sum up.
I think I don't have anything extra to say, so let's put it to the vote.
To the vote. All those in favour? That's carried. Thank you, councillors. 8.7, request for authorisation to commence planning scheme amendment for the Bass Coast Industrial Land Use Strategy. Ms Taylor to introduce the report, please.
Thank you, Mayor. The purpose of this report is to request Council commence a planning scheme amendment to implement the recommendations of the Bass Coast Industrial Land Use Strategy. The amendment seeks to improve amenity in our existing industrial areas by introducing design controls for new development, discouraging non-industrial uses in industrial areas, improving landscaping and car parking controls, and minimising land use conflicts. The report recommends Council seek authorisation from the Minister for Planning to commence the process to amend the Bass Coast Planning Scheme. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms Taylor. Do we have a mover? Councillor Temby, seconder. Councillor Tassari. Councillor Temby, would you like to introduce?
Yeah, look, it's really important for business to be able to be located in a place that is suitable for the activities going on, both from an environmental point of view, a practical point of view, transport, etc. And this plan seems to be headed in that sort of direction where we're going to have things a bit more streamlined, a bit more user-friendly for those organisations who do employ a lot of people in the Shire. I think it's really important that we get this right, and this plan is one hell of a good start. I think we should pursue it.
Thank you, Councillor Temby. Councillor Tassari.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is crucial, this plan, and it's been needed for quite some time now, which we're all aware of. I've been contacted so many times by businesses trying to find somewhere suitable for them to expand or such, and I know of several businesses that actually have moved out of our Shire because they couldn't find that suitable space in industrial areas. And not to say I love a cafe as well as much as anyone, but to see cafes set up in what could be factories in industrial estates and such, and these business owners have to then move to the Cardinia Shire to set up their business because there's nowhere for them. So any number of times I've had people, wanting to store stuff in industrial area and there's just nowhere. So then they go to their home and they start using their homes, and that's discouraged as well. So this is long overdue and a great start. So look forward to it.
Thank you, Councillor Tassari. Any other councillor wish to speak? Councillor Bell?
Yeah, I just wanted to echo the sentiments already said. It's really important that we create opportunities for people to work close to home, and this strategy will future-proof our industrial land so that we're supporting local jobs and laying the foundation for our businesses, our local businesses, to grow and innovate and invest in our community here.
Thank you, Councillor Bell. Anything further? Councillor Temby, wish to sum up or put to the vote?
Thank you. I think all the key points have been made, so put it to the vote. Thank you.
All those in favour? That's carried. Thank you, councillors. 8.8, planning application 2025 0000449, removal of 2 trees in the Vegetation Protection Overlay VPO2 at 24 Hastings Street, Ventnor. Ms Taylor to introduce, please.
Thank you, Mayor. The purpose of this report is for Council to consider an application to remove 2 trees at 24 Hastings Street in Ventnor. The application is before Council as 22 objections have been received. Council's planning arborist has assessed the trees, determining both have structural faults, and on this basis supports removal of the trees. It is recommended that the application be supported with conditions on the planning permit, should one issue, requiring replanting of 52 Indigenous species. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms Taylor. Do we have a mover? Councillor Tassari, seconder. Councillor Thompson. Councillor Tassari.
That was strained.
Was a bit strange, wasn't it?
This is one of those ones that we've spoken a bit about in the chamber, and it's not one that I'm wrapped about being the mover for, but the fact that 2 individual arborists have looked at this and summarised the trees, and both have said that they are in medium to poor condition, puts us at risk as a council group if we are to go against their advice and something happens. So I certainly hope that the conditions of this permit are adhered to. I would hope that, as we do with all of our planning notices, that we go along and just make sure that they are adhered to, because this doesn't sit well with me at all, Madam Mayor, to remove these trees, but I'm not going to go against two arborist reports. So I will put this forward to endorse.
Thank you, Councillor Tassari. Councillor Thompson?
I also agree with Councillor Tassari, and the trees are definitely need to be removed. They are not structurally sound, but I'd just like to make sure that the homeowner plants the 52 species of plants that are required, and that's something that I hope that our officers will follow up. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Does any other Councillor Morgan?
Thanks, Madam Mayor, if I have the call.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Yeah, I'm not going to be supporting this application. I think, yes, there might be some structural problems with the trees. There's also some very much more serious structural problems with our climate. And 52 native species, that's great. I'm quite aware that many property developers claim to revegetate and don't water their plants, let their plants die. And even if those plants do get treated with the greatest of care, it will take decades for them to sequester as much carbon as fully grown trees. It also takes trees decades and decades to become hollow bearing and create habitat for the wildlife that we supposedly care about as a council group. So no, I won't be supporting this application, and I'm pretty proud in voting it down.
Thanks, Councillor Morgan. Councillor Bell?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I speak today with deep hesitation about supporting this vegetation removal application. I want to advocate for stronger protection of our natural environment and to challenge the ongoing erosion of our own strategies and community values. Despite assurances that compliance measures have improved in our Shire, personal experience tells a different story. This request provides the opportunity for the landholder to establish the plantings expected in a previous permit application and to move toward the re-establishment of canopy cover that would be lost in this application. This site sits within a vegetation protection overlay. The distinctive areas and landscapes framework identifies Ventnor as protected. We have our own urban forest strategy and a neighbourhood character study, and yet trees continue to quietly disappear, often through applications that never even reach this chamber. We're witnessing a pattern of non-compliance across the Shire. Bins are left out all week, dogs are off leash, trees are poisoned. People are acting with impunity because they know that our enforcement is insufficient to meet the demonstrated needs. And while state legislation limits our power over planning applications, it's frustrated to be forced into decisions that contradict our own environmental goals. We live in regional Victoria because we value nature, not to watch it being replaced by concrete. We must start standing by our own strategies. That means improving enforcement, exploring alternative levers, and holding applicants accountable. If this application is approved, I'm going to monitor it closely. Our community has told us again and again that protecting the natural environment is their number one priority. That's our mandate. Let's listen, let's act, and let's stop the quiet destruction of our Shire's vegetation before it's too late.
Thank you, Councillor Bell. Councillor O'Brien?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, look, I'm aligned with Councillor Morgan. I can't in good conscience support this motion. Phillip Island and the Bass Coast Shire, we don't have, we don't have the ruins of Pompeii, here drawing visitors to the Shire. We don't have the Valley of the Kings. What we have is our natural environment. That's why people come here. And they don't come here expecting to see Pakenham by the sea, and that's what we're in danger of doing here. Every council meeting that I've been at has involved a proposal, more than one proposal, for the removal of trees, and when given an example of neighbourhood character, we were pointed at Jenner Avenue in Cowes, which is a sea of roofs and a sea of concrete, as being part of the neighbourhood character of Cowes. That's not what residents want, and that's I know that we're caught here between a rock and a hard place. That hard place being state government planning policy in urban areas. But we've got to fight like hell. We have to fight like hell to retain, with the pressures of population, to retain this natural environment, which is so important to the visitor economy. The very reason why people come here and why people want to live here. And those trees have withstood some gale force, some wind bombs over the past 12 months, and are still standing. I don't reject the arborist report, but trees conspire to stand up, and until we see some planting to replace them, that those plantings get some maturity, I can't support this.
Thank you, Councillor O'Brien. Councillor Temby.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Look, I think, first thing, I'm really heartened by the comments that are being made around the room. It's not just me being a lone voice on this one. Perhaps the only other comment that hasn't been made in the context of tree removal is that we need them for local community amenity and to prevent the heat island effect that comes when we remove canopy trees, quite apart from the biodiversity and other impacts that it has. These people have, they've got an opportunity now to demonstrate that they can do the right thing by looking after the 52 trees, getting them up to canopy level if this motion is passed. But it shouldn't be happening. We need to draw a line in the sand and say that removal of canopy trees that can be avoided must be avoided.
Thank you, Councillor Temby. Councillor Bauer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, fellow councillors and ratepayers watching this meeting. My thoughts on this motion is to vote against it. There is a parallel between this situation and the environmental vandalism of cutting down the 2 mature gum trees for the virtually unused Anderson Street car and trailer car park. It is my belief that a mature tree will do more for our CO2 emissions and bird habitat than a sapling struggling to get a foothold and must probably have a poor survival rate. The feedback from the Ventnor community is why pull these trees down. However, we have to respect the 2 arborist reports. If the trees are dying and pose a danger, what choice do we have? This application provides the opportunity to deliver the tree planting as required under the original permit. What guarantee do we have that if we give permission to remove these trees, that the follow-up plantings will occur? This is where it's important that our officers ensure that the terms of this permit are enforced. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bauer. There's no other councillor that wishes to speak. Councillor Tassari, would you like to sum up, please?
Well, I feel like I should, Madam Mayor. It's been a fantastic debate, to be honest with you. And I don't disagree with with anything that's been said, apart from being called an environmental vandal. So this is one that doesn't sit well. But again, I fear if what the outcome would be after we've got 2 individual arborist reports saying that these trees are in medium to poor condition, and a branch was to come down and land on someone's head, where the Shire would be. And we have as a responsibility to protect the Bass Coast Shire Council. So it's not for me to go against professionals' advice. So as much as I adhere to all the passionate pleas, I'll still vote, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Tassari.
Madam, can I ask a question before we put it to a vote of Officer
Taylor.
What will this cost us if we go to VCAT?
Through the Mayor, ultimately would depend on the level of representation and the amount of expert support that we took to an appeal. It could range anywhere from $5,000 to $15,000.
Thank you.
Mayor.
Thank you, Ms Taylor. Put to the...
Could I ask a further question? Sorry. To you also, Ms Taylor, and my apologies for this being without notice. Could it be a possibility that the permit is only granted once the new vegetation is put in, so that there's not a question of if it gets put in, but the new vegetation comes first and then the permit to remove the trees?
Through the Mayor, the applicant would need to act on the permit to trigger the requirement for the revegetation, which is why the revegetation is often required post removal of the trees.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms Taylor. Put to the vote. All those in favour of the recommendation? 5. All those against? Thank you, councillors. That's carried. Oh, silence in the room. We're not happy about that one, but anyway.
Division, please, ma'am.
Division. All those in favour of the recommendation? You can change. Councillor Edwards, Councillor Tassari, Councillor Halstead, Councillor Thompson. All those against? Councillor Morgan, Councillor Bauer, Councillor O'Brien, Councillor Temby.
That's fine.
Here we go.
It's lost.
That's lost.
Through the Mayor, as the motion is lost, the officers... Is that correct?
Did Councillor Bell abstain?
Oh, no, yes, I abstain.
So that's a
Lost.
no. So the motion is lost. Therefore, councillors, we need to give the officers direction about what they do with this permit. Have any councillors considered? Will I adjourn the meeting for councillors
Yes, please.
Yes.
to consider this? Thank you. We'll adjourn the meeting.
Through the Mayor, as the motion's been lost, I'd suggest that the same report will be presented to the next council meeting. A decision has been made in relation to the officer's report. That decision is to not go with the officer's recommendation. However, council does not have a position on the application itself. So on that basis, this report will need to be presented to a future meeting of council.
Thank you, councillor. Thank you, Ms Taylor. It's got me a bit rattled. Okay. All right, we move to 8.10, governance rules and election period policy.
8.9. No, 8.9.
Sorry?
Yep, 8.9.
Oh, I'm sorry, 8.9. I am really rattled by that.
I had us there as well, Madam Mayor.
Pardon? Oh, good. Okay. Amendment to Development Plan 18 to 28 Station Street, Dalston. Ms Taylor, could you introduce this one, please?
Thank you, Mayor. The purpose of this report is for council to consider amending the current development plan at 28 Station Street in Dalston. The amended plan provides for approximately 93 lots, a larger wetland system than previously proposed, and a modified road and residential layout. Officers have assessed the application and sought the advice and views of servicing authorities and surrounding residents. It is recommended that the amended development plan be approved. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms Taylor. Do I have a move at Councillor Thompson, a second at Councillor Morgan? Councillor Thompson to introduce, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Through the Mayor, I would like to move this motion. With the growth in population and an increase in demand for housing, I welcome this development in Dalston. I'm pleased the developers have addressed the original issue of drainage, and this now complies with planning regulations and are appropriate for the development. With the location close to sporting facilities and walking tracks, this is a welcome development. I'm pleased to move this motion. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Councillor Morgan.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I'm also very happy to be endorsing this. 93 housing lots is extremely important in the context of the housing crisis that we're in. I'd like to give a shout out to the planners and the minister in Spring Street responsible for the housing crisis and say that Bass Coast is going above and beyond what is required of us to free up space for housing. We need that housing to be affordable, accessible, public preferentially, and we also need more public transport. Dalston is not serviced well enough by our public transport systems, and if we're going to free up land for 93 new units, we need much better public transport. And so I'll be keeping an eye on the state government to hear future announcements.
Thank you, Councillor Morgan. Councillor Tassari?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll go a step further than that. Councillor Morgan, Bass Coast needs better public transport, not just Darlston. Bass Coast public transport's virtually non-existent. Speaking as someone who grew up with a football oval in his backyard, I couldn't think of a better place to live than here. Having and the Bass Coast Shire, having spent so much money on that area of late, upgrading the netball facilities, the half-court basketball court that's there, the playground. What a great spot to live, and who knows, I might even pack up my family and move from sunny Wonthaggi out to Darlston, because that is an amazing estate, and I look forward to it coming to fruition.
Fabulous footy ground too, Councillor Tassari. Councillor Temby?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I think this is a great location for the development. There are a couple of things. I was concerned that even though the drainage in the area is now meeting specs, I'm still concerned that, no proposed residential areas would be subject to flooding in a significant rain event, although it looks a lot better than it did in the first iteration. I'm concerned there is only one entry. I've lived in areas in North East Victoria where there is only one entry and exit, and in a bushfire situation that's pretty scary. And we've got a development in here with just the one entry, and while I understand CFA are happy with it, I'm just concerned from my own background that, that creates a few dramas at times. The other one is just to ensure that wetland area and the green space beside it is public open space with canopy trees that can be used for passive recreation for the locals. So other than outside of those concerns, I think it's a great idea to have it there.
Thanks, Councillor Temby. Any other councillors wish to speak? Councillor O'Brien?
Yeah, look, just to endorse, what Councillor Tassari mentioned, I think that, when we look at developments, it seems to me, that in too many developments, you've got to get into the car to go and access, places for your kids to play. This is really well cited, and having a wetland down the end there where the Bass Coast rail trail comes through. I mean, it really does tick all the boxes. And I mean, if we want to look at what might be gold standard models, I think that this is it. Places for kids to play, where the car doesn't have to be involved. They just walk out of the front door with the footy under the arm or the basketball or whatever it is, and off they go.
You coming with me?
Yeah, that's right.
Thank you, Councillor O'Brien. Nothing further from any of the councillors? Councillor Thompson, you'd like to sum up?
Yes, I would like to sum up, Mayor. Just in regard to the water retention basin, that's oversized, and I doubt if there'd be any flooding. So if anybody's interested in buying a block, don't panic. I'd also allay Councillor Tenby's fears. There is a walking track at the rear of the development, and if the road has no access, I think there'll be a lot of people running down the track. Thank you very much, Mayor. I move this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. All those in favour? That's carried. Thank you. Now to 8.10, Governance Rules and Election Period Policy 2025. Ms Glenn to introduce the report.
Thank you, Mayor. The purpose of this report is to present the Governance Rules and Election Period Policy for adoption following a period of community consultation in accordance with the Local Government Act. The rules set out how Council's meetings shall be governed, while the Election Period Policy outlines how Council will conduct its business during the election period prior to general elections. The rules have been amended to incorporate community feedback, sector best practice, ministerial guidelines and integrity agency recommendations released since their initial adoption in 2020. They are now recommended to Council for adoption. Thank you, Mayor.
I wish to move an alternate.
Thank you, Ms Glenn. You wish to move an alternative?
Thank you.
Can we have that alternative on the screen, please?
Without speaking to it, it's a alteration to section 53 of the regarding public question time.
So we have Councillor Bauer moving the alternative. I'm looking for a seconder, councillors. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Morgan? Okay, Councillor Bauer, would you like to speak to your alternative?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, fellow councillors and members of the public watching this meeting. Governance rules are like insurance. When things go well, nobody wants to know about them. However, when they go wrong, everybody rushes to them. Countless times, the governance officer has had to think on their feet about a ruling, and it is the interpretation of that ruling that makes the lawyers rich. I've had a keen interest in constitutions and governance since 1999. I've also written partial constitutions. I'm going to cut through. These rules express the way we conduct the business of council. I wish to congratulate Officer Glenn and her team for the way she has listened and incorporated the suggested changes. The governance team has also done a very good job in cleaning up some of the anomalies and in areas where the rules were silent. I would like to highlight that we have heard from the community's feedback in relation to public question time. Public question time is the community's opportunity to publicly hold us to account. Fortunately, our Shire does not suffer the problem of sovereign citizens who notoriously disrupt council meetings. Therefore, I see no need to distance ourselves from the gallery. Also, the ability for a mover of a motion to speak for 5 minutes so they don't have to need to speak at the rate of a machine gun. There's no such thing as perfect rules. They are organic insofar as they need to change with the changing circumstances. One can go through as many what-ifs scenarios as you like, but it's always the unexpected that pops up. Councillors should not feel intimidated to alter governance rules if they believe they don't fit a certain criteria. This is not a reflection of weakness or an apology. It shows that the councils are aware of changing circumstances and ensuring that the governance rules are relevant. I commend the alternate, to the chamber.
Councillor Bauer, thank you. Can I just ask you to give a brief description of what your alternate is?
The alternate actually is, rather than a person just submitting a question and it's read by you and answered by the CEO, they have the ability to stand up and read the question to you and they have to answer. That is and if they're not in the gallery, so you have the ability to read the question from the chair. That is the basis of it.
Thank you, Councillor Bauer. Councillor Morgan?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. In support of this alternate, I think the community feedback was quite interesting, and I can sympathise with the concerns from people about not having their questions read out in the council chamber, and I hope that this is taken as message read, that not only will we keep public question time, but if people are in the room, they'll be welcome to ask their question. I think the other point here is, yes, there is a change to people introducing motions to speak for 5 minutes, and I urge my colleagues not to do that unless they have something good to say. Very rarely have I heard a good 5-minute speech, but I think the important thing, and from the public, the most important thing is that you're welcome now to come into this chamber and ask a question. That's a privilege that we have. I think we underappreciate just how lucky we are to be in such a safe democracy that allows one security guard sitting up the back doing a fabulous job, and we all feel safe in this room. And I hope that continues. And I think that it's also a hat tip to the mayor for allowing what is going to be inevitably a tough job at times to chair. But good on you for being willing to do this.
Thank you, Councillor Morgan. Sometimes I think it might be harder keeping the councillors in check, but...
Not sometimes.
Okay, so is there any other councillor that wishes? Councillor Edwards?
I'd like to raise an amendment to the alternate.
Okay. Can we have the amendment up?
I'll speak to the alternate.
Is there a seconder to...
What is the amendment?
Oh, you want to do... Oh,
Can
no.
I speak to the alternate first before the amendment comes in.
No, councillor Edwards has moved an amendment, so that has to be dealt with first. Councillor Thompson, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Do we have a seconder for
What is the amendment?
the amendments on the screen?
So this is now an amendment to
Councillor Bauer's alternatives.
Here we go.
So we need a seconder for the amendment to proceed. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Thompson, thank you. Councillor Edwards, would you like to introduce your amendment?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. It's quite a simple addition, just simply that at the time of the mayoral election, that the CEO, on declaring, pardon me, the elected councillor as mayor, shall present the mayoral collarette to the incoming mayor. So that just doesn't mean to have to necessarily, actually, shall I continue on, or? It doesn't necessarily mean that the CEO needs to place it over the top. We're not knighting the mayor, so to speak, but although that could be fun. But simply presenting it so that the collarette is seen as a minimum. I know that it may come out from time to time at different events, but it's coming into the chamber as a minimum of once a year that the incoming mayor would be presented with the collarette. And obviously from a procedural point of view, how that collarette is maintained inside the office is a procedural matter for obviously other documents, but I understand there's a now procedure in place for that. And this comes about, you know, it's I guess recognising the lost the right words today, but recognising the symbolism of the collarette and of that role, and having the CEO present it, given that the CEO would be in the chair at the time of the election, is I guess just symbolic of that. So that's all it is. It's quite a simple addition to the alternate.
Thank you, Councillor Edwards. Councillor Thompson, you wish to speak?
Yes, I do, Madam Mayor. Look, I'm a little bit divided. I'm not actually sure whether this is appropriate to go into our governance rules and regulations, whether it's necessary, but I've seconded to give Councillor Edwards an opportunity to talk to it. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Is there any other councillor? Councillor Morgan?
Yeah, thanks, Madam Mayor, and I hope you're not offended to know that I had to Google what a mayoral collarette was before coming into the chamber today. And I think we've all been fairly disciplined in our comments so far this term, but I think our constituents would be horrified if I didn't speak against what I think is a fairly problematic motion. Frankly, I don't think I've ever seen such an out-of-touch idea reach this chamber. Presenting each other with fancy necklaces. I mean, we have a community struggling to put food on the table and keep roofs over their heads, and this is the issue being brought into our council chamber. Noting that I've now Googled what a collarette is, how about we melt down the metals in the collarette, sell it and reinvest the money in community services? Politicians should never be put on a pedestal. We're privileged to have the jobs we have, and I challenge my fellow councillors to find a single constituent that thinks that this is a good use of our time. I knocked on thousands of doors last year. The mayor's collarette was not mentioned once. We're here to serve our community, not our own egos. So I'll leave it there, Madam Mayor, and encourage my colleagues to think twice about public perception before bringing self-indulgent issues like this before our chamber.
Thank you, Councillor Morgan. Close to the bone, but let it go through. Councillor Bauer?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A question to Councillor Edwards. Was the word shall or may part of your amendment?
Oh, my apologies. It was intended to be may, but
Because may is a lot more wriggle room.
I guess the reality is we have a collarette, so it's just how that is presented. I'm not suggesting that we spend any new money on getting something different. We have one. How is that used? Yeah, that's all.
All right, now I'll speak. To answer Councillor Morgan's assertion of melting the collarette and being a jewel, I'll tell you there's no value in it at all. We have it already. And by May, if that was the word that's supposed to be there, it's not something that necessarily has to be done. I accept the what if, that if it is a contentious mayoral election, it could be quite problematic.
Thank you, Councillor Bauer. And Councillor Kenby?
Yeah, I have I've argued in the past that we are recognised for our behaviour and our attitudes rather than, having something that says that, you must be listened to because you've got a particular garment on. I just find it to be, thinking from a long time ago, I don't see it as being relevant. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Temby. Anyone else wish to speak on the amendment? All right, so we'll put the amendment to the vote. All those in favour of the amendment? Okay, I'm sorry, Councillor Edwards, that's lost.
You convinced me, though.
Good try. So we now revert back to Councillor Bauer's alternative. And I'll get Councillor Bauer. I think Councillor Thompson,
Yes.
did you wish to speak to the
do.
alternative
Thank
before
you,
we...
Madam Mayor. I think it is very important for residents to both speak and have their questions read by the Mayor. They can have the choice. I think it's very democratic and very important. I'm also very pleased that the petitioners can now speak to their petition, because quite often we have petitions come to the council chamber and they're just read sublimely, and now a petitioner can speak to it and we get a lot more motion from it. Thank you very much, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Is there any other? Councillor Tassari?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just speaking to these governance, I can't for the life of me work out why we need 5 minutes to introduce our motion. It's if you can't say what you need to say in 3 minutes, then you're rambling, as I am now, and the rest of the governance, I'm not going to die in a ditch on whether you can have your say in here or whether you can't have your say and read your public question time out. But certainly, for the life of me, can't see why you need 5 minutes. But that's just, I'm old school.
Thank you, Councillor Tassari. Councillor O'Brien?
I hesitate because I'm sitting next to it. But I think that having 5 minutes to introduce a motion doesn't necessarily mean that you need to use 5 minutes. And we can introduce motions that require 2 minutes. We can introduce them in 2 minutes. But the other thing is in addressing what Councillor Bowers put forward. I was drawn to council because I wanted to reflect the community and to be near to the community and to be able to reflect back to the community, what they wanted. And I think that allowing community members to speak it is quite different than having their question read from the chair. And so it's actually saying to those community members, we see you and we hear you. And I think that that's a really important part of moving this council closer to the community where we need to be. And so I'm strongly in support of...
Thank you, Councillor O'Brien. Did any other councillors wish to speak before I take it back to Councillor Bauer? Councillor Bauer?
There actually hasn't been... Oh, yes, you did. All right, I'll take that right. Thank you, councillors, for your support of the alternate. And just to address the 5 minutes, we all can speak normally. We all are able to communicate. Just imagine if we have a councillor with a speech impediment and it is difficult for them to speak within the 3 minutes. And I'll leave it at that. And I wish, Madam Mayor, if you would put it to the vote.
Thank you, Councillor Bauer. All those in favour of Councillor Bauer's alternative? That's carried. Thank you.
Thank you, councillors.
We're going to be hearing from Graham Jolly the next meeting.
8.11, review of instrument of delegation, Council to Chief Executive Officer. Ms Glenn to introduce the report, please.
Thank you, Mayor. The purpose of this report is for Council to review and adopt its instrument of delegation to the Chief Executive Officer. The function of delegating powers, duties and functions of Council to the Chief Executive Officer allows for the effective operation of the organisation. Section 11 of the Local Government Act requires councils to review its instruments of delegation within 12 months of a general election. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms Glenn. Do we have a mover? Councillor Morgan, a seconder? Councillor Edwards. Councillor Morgan, would you like to introduce or?
Sure, I hope to not offend anybody by assuming that this one is procedural.
Thank you, Councillor Morgan. Councillor Edwards, procedural. You're doing well, Councillor Edwards. I know you're struggling with your voice today. Councillor, okay, any other councillors have any comments to make? All right, we'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? That's carried. Thank you, councillors. 8.12, instruments of appointment and authorisation. Ms Glenn to introduce, please.
Thank you, Mayor. The purpose of this report is to ensure officers that have responsibilities under the Planning and Environment Act are appropriately authorised to perform their roles. And it may be also considered procedural, but no less important.
Thank you, Ms Glenn. Do we have a mover? Councillor Thompson, seconder. Councillor Edwards. Councillor Thompson, you want to?
I'd just like to say these officers are appointed because they've got their specialities, and they've also deserved these appointments, and we trust in them to make great decisions. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Councillor Edwards? No. Any other councillors wish to? Councillor Tessari, I thought I saw your hand.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, I just quickly looking at the names of some of the people that are having their appointments revoked, and there's some great staff members there that have obviously moved on, and yeah, it's always sad to see people that you've shared this building with for such a long time disappear. Just wanted to acknowledge that.
Thank you, Councillor Tessari.
Maybe.
Unfortunately, we train them up to be great, and then others often take them away from us. Any other councillors wish to speak? Councillor Thompson?
I'd just like to sum up and welcome to the delegates. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. All those in favour? That's carried. 8.13, award of tender number 25002, Cows Streetscape Master Plan, delivery of stage 1. Ms Glenn.
Thank you, Mayor. This report presents to Council the outcome of the competitive tender process for the Cows Streetscape Master Plan delivery of Stage 1. The streetscape redevelopment works will result in significant changes to the function and amenity of the town centre, with the works incorporating road upgrades, minor drainage works, water main realignment, landscaping and footpath construction. This report recommends Council accept the tender submission and award contract to the preferred tenderer, subject to the completion of negotiations to the satisfaction of the Chief Executive Officer. It is now recommended to Council for endorsement. Thank you, Mayor.
Mover as Councillor Bell, a seconder. Councillor Tessari. Councillor Bell, would you like to introduce?
Yeah, this is a great result for Cows. The grant was awarded last year, a whopping $8 million from the federal government to make downtown Cows the beachside mecca it deserves to be. Currently, Thompson Avenue is just a mishmash of buildings, cars dominate, and plastic junk shops spill out over the footpath. Frankly, it looks tacky. When I visit other tourist towns in regional Victoria, thinking about Dalesford, Timboon, I feel some connection with the surrounding environment, a beautiful main street without losing the amenity to residents. Cows has a stunning view of the ocean as one drives down Thompson Avenue towards the Esplanade, and we are not making the most of it. Phillip Island welcomes more tourists than any other town in Victoria, but we have a CBD, if I can call it that just doesn't match that status. I understand, Councillor Bauer, that there are concerns around losing parking, but I firmly believe that in conjunction with the integrated transport strategy, the Cows Streetscape will encourage more active transport and reduce our reliance on cars. I understand from the plans that there's actually an increase in disabled parking spots, which is what our resident community requires. But visitors who are enjoying their holiday in Cowes will be able to wander our main street comfortably, safely, and meander through our local businesses at leisure. It feels like a long time since this grant was awarded, so it's great that we have a tender to award and get started.
Thank you, Councillor Bell. Councillor Tassari.
Well said, Councillor Bell. That was fantastic. This is one of those ones that there's going to be a little bit of pain why this gets done. There always is. But down the track in a couple of years' time, this is going to be spectacular. And it is, Thompson Avenue is very, very tired. When you stand at the top of it and you look down, it is very, very tired. And just to think ahead and what this is going to look like, looking down to that view with this beautiful esplanade, it's going to be fantastic, and I really can't wait to see it. No doubt we're going to hear about it on Facebook and the concerns that public have about some of the issues while it is under construction. But think forward a few years' time, this is going to be spectacular.
Thank you, Councillor Tassari. Does any other councillor wish to speak?
Yeah.
Councillor Bauer.
Oh, you want to go first?
No, Councillor Bauer, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Fellow councillors and ratepayers watching this meeting, for us, thank you for endorsing a Phillip Island project. I have nothing against the awarding of this tender for this project, which this motion's about. I'm sure the work will be done professionally. My only comment is that the project was approved in 2015. It is interesting to see how our advocacy priorities have changed since then. Car parking, the recreation reserve and affordable housing. But I will endorse this one. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bauer. Councillor Temby?
Yes, first one is I'd like to endorse Councillor Bell's comments. I think that summed it up really well.
Yeah.
And I think for me, because it is external funding doing it, I'm in full support. But if it was council funding, largely looking after it, I would have seen, quite a few changes made and reallocation to other things that I consider necessary. But in the context of external money, I think it's a great project and it needs to go ahead. And the staging of it to minimise disruption to the commercial sites down there is really good. And yes, it'll be a hassle, but it's minimised.
Thank you, Councillor Temby. Any other councillor? Councillor O'Brien?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Look, this is it's basically procedural. I mean, the money is allocated. The job is going to go ahead. So I'm not arguing about the job. But I think there was a book written in the 60s by Robin Boyd called The Great Australian Ugliness. And in that book, Robin Boyd was talking about the signage on shops and the visual clutter that we put over everything. I would hope that with this beautification of the streetscape and turning it more into a pedestrian thoroughfare, that we also work with traders on getting some of that signage right. It just looks terrible, where each business has got a sign bigger than the one before it, and so you've got this amazing visual clutter. But this is a step in the right direction. The money's there. We're going to spend it. We seem to have got the right tenderers for it. We trust the council officers there. That's just the comment that I'd like to make.
Thank you, Councillor O'Brien. Councillor Thompson?
Yes, I'd like to also endorse Councillor Bell's comments. They're excellent. I'd just like to mention one disabled van parking, which is really important, that's going to be included, and that's for disabled groups and elderly residents from clubs and retirement villages. That's very important for them to be able to get access in this main street. And I'm also very pleased that the Olive Justice Place will now get public facilities brought forward to stage 2, because it's a long way from one end of Thompson to the other end for a disabled person. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Thompson. Nothing further from the floor. Councillor Bell, would you like to sum up or put to the vote?
I think we just put it to the vote.
Put to the vote. All those in favour? That's carried. Thank you, councillors. Okay, item 9 Statutory reports. 9.1 is the informal meeting of councillors. Do I have a mover? Councillor Tassari, Councillor Thompson. Councillor Tassari, did you wish to say anything?
No, just happy to put this forward.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson.
Same again, thank you.
To the vote, Councillor Tassari.
Put it to a vote. Thank you.
All those in favour? That's carried. Thank you. Item 9.2 is planning and building statistics, June 2025. Councillor Tassari's moving. Councillor Thompson, second.
Again, happy to put this forward.
Councillor Tassari. Councillor Thompson.
I just want to add, every month we have this come through, and I just want to thank our planning department for the amount of work that they do. It's outstanding. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Nothing further from the floor. Councillor Tassari to the
Put it to a
vote.
vote, Madam Mayor.
All those in favour? Sorry, all those in favour? That's carried. Thank you. 9.3, contracts awarded and extended under CEO delegation. Do I have a mover? Councillor Thompson. Councillor Tassari as the seconder. Introducing Councillor Thompson.
No, I'll just move it to a vote. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Tassari, anything?
Just endorse Councillor Thompson's words.
Thank you. Councillor Bauer, did you have a question? Or
Yeah, I have a question. The council notes that no contracts were awarded and are extended. Why are we even voting on this?
Procedural.
It's Thank you, Councillor Bauer.
What's the answer?
Procedural.
It's
Every
procedural.
month.
Through the Mayor, we're required through our delegation as officers to report back to councillors on the activity related to the delegation each month. So, for example, even if no planning permits were issued in that month, we would still be required to produce that report for you.
Thank you for the explanation.
Thank you, Councillor Bauer. Councillor Thompson to the vote.
To the vote. Thank you.
All those in favour? That's carried. Thank you, councillors. Next item 10, urgent business, of which we have none, unless one of you is surprising me. All right. Just before I go on to the announcement of the next meeting, I just want to acknowledge the significant work of officers in relation to all of these plans, and also to let councillors know how proud I am to be the mayor of this council. I know that we've all worked for many months putting these plans together alongside our community and with our officers' assistance. And so I couldn't be prouder of the work that we've done, and I really encourage community now. These documents will go out. Please engage and give us your feedback, because the councillors around the table are listening. And when this comes back to us in October, we still have the opportunity to make changes if we need to. So in saying that, I'm going to announce that the next council meeting will be held on the 17th of September 2025 in the Bass Coast Civic Centre Council Chamber, where we are today, Baillieu Street East, Wonthaggi, commencing at 1 p.m. That the meeting now be closed to members of the public pursuant to Section 66 of the Local Government Act 2020 to consider items as they deal with confidential meeting information, being the records of meetings closed to the public under Section 66(2)(a). Could I have a mover, please? Councillor Edwards, seconder, Councillor Morgan. Thank you, councillors. All those in favour? That's carried. Thank you. There will be a quick break for 15 minutes where members of the public can join the councillors for an informal chat. Thank you for watching the live stream on council's meeting. The meeting will now be adjourned, and the meeting is being adjourned at 2:55 p.m. Thank you.